Colorado was able to come away with a double overtime victory over Colorado State. But there was a lot of bad that came out of this game. 43-35, the Buffs over the Rams. Let's talk about it after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsYJr. YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe to the notification bell because we upload all the time. Now, Colorado came away with the 43-35 double overtime thriller. It didn't end till like 2:30 Eastern. It was crazy. It was a great game. It was good resiliency shown by the Buffs. But the thing is, there's a lot of bad in this game. And there was some things that we have to take notice as far as moving forward for Colorado and Coach Prime and the team. One, they're going to be without Travis for a stretch here. Immediately after the game, the first shout out to the reporter who asked this question, by the way. The first question that was asked to Coach Prime was, what is the status of Travis? If you didn't watch the game, Travis was playing in the game, took a dirty cheap shot, targeting. They didn't call, but they called the penalty, but not targeting. Dirty cheap shot by number 11 from Colorado State. Travis remained in the game, but at halftime, he actually had to go to the hospital immediately after the game. Prime let the world know that Travis will be out for a few weeks. He'll be out for a few weeks. He said it straight up. He didn't hide his injury report. He didn't try to make it a mystery or nothing. He told us straight up he'll be out for at least a few weeks, and a few meaning 3. And what I'm assuming, this is me assuming, I have no idea, but as soon as he got hit, I was like, this is bad. This is bad. The way when a player gets hit and immediately takes off their helmet, 9 times out of 10, something went really bad. Now, I'm watching the game, my friends and family, they're thinking like, he just got the wind knocked out of him. And then he actually played the rest of the half. He didn't go to the hospital till halftime. So I was like, maybe you guys are right. But I've been watching football a long time. When players immediately take their helmet off, something went wrong. And apparently it did go wrong. He goes to the hospital. I don't want to do too much, but just off initial reaction, I'm assuming it's something with the ribs. I'm assuming it's either a cracked rib or multiple cracked ribs, something like that. Just for the simple fact that he's going to miss multiple weeks. You have to, think about that. And when you're holding your chest, you're holding your body. In the way he was hit directly in the body. The ball nowhere near him. It was clearly a dirty play. That's what makes me think that. So that's the stuff on Travis, wishing him a speedy recovery, not having him against Oregon and not having him against USC. That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because Colorado still can't run the ball. They still can't run the ball. And the offensive line didn't look that great, right? And with Colorado State, I don't think their quarterback's that good. But if you look at his just pure numbers, he threw for 367 and 3 touchdowns. Now, he also had 3 interceptions. That's the part that make me not think he's that great. And not to mention, most of his passes were just the same concept, these little under routes, these little crossing routes. And somehow, some way, Colorado couldn't stop it. The Buffs couldn't stop it. Colorado State had 3 receivers go for over 100 yards, including their tight end who had 2 touchdowns. Lewis Brown IV had 131. Torrey Horton had 16 catches for the 133. And they still lost the game. Colorado State, for the better part of the game, for most of the game, looked like the better team. I just don't think they deserved to win because they were playing so dirty. I just didn't think they deserved to win. Now, actually executing and going out there and making things happen, they did a lot of good things. But the biggest hindrance to them was penalties. They couldn't stop committing penalties. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be honest, sometimes it's just about who you have, who the other team doesn't. Colorado State went into the fourth quarter up 11 points. They went up 11 points, and they lost that game in double overtime. Why did they lose that game after being up 11 points in the fourth quarter? Because the Buffs had Shedeur Sanders, and they didn't. It's that simple. It is that simple. Having a decent quarterback is cool. Having a good quarterback is a luxury. Having an exceptional quarterback, having what they consider a top 10 pick quarterback, having a guy who people was considering a Heisman Trophy type of quarterback, that's worth a touchdown. That's worth that. That's something that, as great as coaches you can be the best coach in the world. You can be the best motivational speaker in the world. You can get the team hyped up the most in the world. But if another team just has a guy, what can you do? Colorado had the guy. The guy just happens to be their quarterback. The guy plays the most important position on the field. That's the quarterback. Shedeur went into the second half. He was having a miserable game. He wasn't seeing the field like he normally does. They were getting pressure. That Kamara kid had 2 or 3 sacks. The offensive line was getting their tail whooped. They couldn't do anything offensively because, they still can't run the ball. They just haven't been able to run the ball really all year. And when Shedeur's off, they're off offensively. If Shedeur's off, they're off. Whether that's because of the play of the offensive line or whatever, they're just off. But when he's on, there's not much any other team can do, especially if you keep giving him chances. Colorado State had 18 penalties, I want to say. And let me make sure. Let me see if I can find these penalties. 18 penalties, I want to say, and 4 turnovers. You're not going to beat Shedeur Sanders with 18 penalties and 4 turnovers, including your best pass rusher getting ejected from the game because he did a dirty play. That's not happening. That's not happening. And the resiliency that he showed, honestly, I don't see how there's a way this kid comes back. I still believe that he comes back for next year because I think their team is just going to be so good in 2024. But each and every single week, you watch the dude play, and then you look at his stat line, and you're just like, who? I mean, I get it. Caleb Williams is who he is. Caleb Williams is who he is. I cannot take that away from that young man. That young man is special. But Shedeur Sanders is special too. Shedeur Sanders is special too. For a game that he looked off the entire first half to finish with these numbers, I say he looked off, but he only had 9 incompletions after 47 throws the whole game. 38 for 47, 348 and 4 touchdowns while being sacked 4 times. And he had an interception, his first one of the year. That's because this dude is special. This dude is different. This dude, and when you have a difference maker like this at QB, you win games you're not supposed to win. When you have that at QB, you win games you aren't supposed to win. Let me say that one more time. When you have this at QB, you win games you're not supposed to win. They shouldn't have won that game against Colorado State. Colorado State they looked stronger. They was pushing Colorado around for long portions of the game. Their defense stepped up for the entire first half. And on offense, they was running essentially what looked like the same freaking play, and the Buffs couldn't stop it. And somehow, some way, they come out with the win. Now, a lot of that, like I said, has to deal with the fact that CSU had a bunch of self-inflicted wounds. 18 penalties, at least 6 or 7 unsportsmanlike penalties, dead ball unsportsmanlike penalties, 4 turnovers, 3 picks and a fumble. And then you have to give this young man the rest of the credit. The other reason why is because even though Mr. Nicolosi Fowler, numbers-wise, he had an amazing game. Numbers-wise, he threw for more than Shedeur. But 3 picks and just this simple elementary offense, it's not going to get the job done when number 2's on the other side. It's not going to get the job done. Now, what was concerning? Well, let me tell you what was amazing. Like I said, Shedeur was amazing. The defense made timely stops. They weren't that great yesterday. They couldn't stop the same little simple crosser route, but they did force 4 turnovers, and they made timely stops. That fourth quarter stop, getting the ball back to Shedeur with the time that they got it back to him, that's all you can ask for as a coach. In that moment, that's all you can ask for as a coach, and that's what they did. They also had a pick 6. So The defense, it's coming along, but it is what it is. And it's going to be what it is the rest of the year. It's not going to be spectacular. It's going to need number 2 to build him out from time to time. And that's what he did last night. That's what he's capable of. That's what type of player he is. At the same time, what was concerning a bit, one, losing Travis is concerning. Not so much for, even though I've always said this, I think Travis is a better receiver than corner. They have enough weapons on offense with Weaver, Jimmy Horn, Dylan Edwards. Those guys, they have enough guys to where they can pick up the slack as they did in the second half of that game, even without Travis on offense. Where they're going to miss Travis the most is on defense, because Travis, albeit he can get beat sometimes. We see that. He can get beat sometimes, but he makes the plays no one else on that defense can make. He makes plays no one else on that defense can make. And without that playmaking ability from Travis on that defense, as you see, simple crossing routes can beat you or can happen. Another thing that I think is happening in what's also concerning, one, I will say Colorado State probably played the best game they'll play all year. I'm going to just be honest. I don't think Colorado State's that good of a team. Even though they looked like the better team yesterday, a couple of things played into that. One, Colorado State came off a bye. You don't typically have byes this early in the season, but they had a full week to prepare for Colorado without having a game. And they had, which also leads me to concern about Colorado moving forward, is that they had tape. See, coming into the TCU game, didn't really have any tape on Colorado. All the guys were transfers. The offensive coordinator came from a different school. The coaching staff's new. The players are new. You don't have any tape. You get tape in the TCU game. That's one game tape. Then you get more game tape, especially during the Nebraska game. Now, granted, Colorado beat the brakes off Nebraska, but what Nebraska did was they were able to get pressure on Shedeur. They were able to exploit. I think Shedeur got sacked like 6 times in that game. They were able to show how you can put pressure on that offensive line. Nebraska's offense was just piss poor. They were just horrible. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't have a chance. Now you have another week of game tape, and this ain't Nebraska. This ain't Colorado State. This ain't TCU. This Oregon coming up. This an Oregon team, granted, that looked mediocre against Texas Tech, but Texas Tech is a Power 5 school. An Oregon team that's scoring a whole lot of points right now. I'm not the biggest believer in Bo Nix. I never have been. He's not Shedeur Sanders. But them as a team, they're better than Colorado State. They're better than TCU. They're better than Nebraska. And now they have 3 weeks worth of game tape. Now they have 3. Now they don't have a bye like Colorado State did to prepare for this game. It's a rivalry game. They had a bye week and they had game tape. But the more game tape that is being shown, and with the lack of depth, losing guys like Travis, that hurts, man. That hurts going into this game against Oregon. And that's what's concerning. That's what concerns me a tad bit. The Colorado State showed that there's still big weaknesses on that offensive line. And if Colorado is too one-dimensional, if they just can't run the ball at all, that's not good. That's not good, because your offensive line is still very suspect, and you're leaving your best player up to chance, meaning Shedeur Sanders. If you can't protect Shedeur because your offensive line is suspect, and you can't even think to run the ball. Like, think about it. They got to the goal line a couple of times and couldn't punch it in because Colorado State was getting penetration. That's not good moving forward. Because if teams can just tee off on your quarterback on an offensive line that ain't that good, that spells trouble. That spells trouble. And now you're missing Travis on both offense and defense. That's concerning for this stretch. You got to think, Colorado the rest of the season, they have how many ranked games? They got USC, Oregon, that's 2. UCLA's ranked, that's 3. Oregon State's ranked, that's 4. Washington State's ranked, that's 5. Utah is ranked, that's 6. They got 6 games left against ranked teams. And who knows how long Travis is going to be out. Now, the resiliency coming out with a win, the play of Shedeur freaking Sanders. was all positives. All of that is awesome. Losing Travis Hunter is a big loss. Losing Travis Hunter for, quote, a few weeks is a really big loss. It's a really big loss. And that is concerning. I want to ask you guys, because Jason Whitlock brought this up, and you can feel how you feel about Jason Whitlock, because he says a lot of stupid stuff, like a lot of stupid stuff. He says some smart things. See, me, I'm the type of guy I can listen to people and take the few good, even if it's just a very few, take the good and be like, oh, that was smart, and then just dismiss all the dumb stuff. But one thing that he said that I thought was polarizing, he's harping on the Travis Hunter injury. Like he keeps going in on it. And his thing about the Travis injury is that he believes that it has less to do with the dirty hit. It has everything to do with the dirty hit, by the way, and more to do with the fact that Travis has played both sides of the ball essentially every single play going on up until this point, 3 games. Now, what I think this injury does, I think it does limit Travis the rest of the season. I don't think you can play him every single snap on both sides of the ball moving forward. I just don't think you can. I don't think you can afford to do that, because if you know anything about Travis, this is his 3rd year in a row getting hurt. Fortunate or unfortunate or not, this is the 3rd. His senior year of high school, he got injured. He missed time with an injury his senior year. His 1st year at Jackson State, he missed 6 games due to an injury. He missed 6 games. And now Prime has already said he's going to miss a few weeks. So it means he's going to miss games this year. So that means 3 years in a row, whether it's on his fault or not, he is going to have missed games. I don't think you can play a guy over 120 some odd snaps after coming off an injury. And so therefore, he's going to be limited. And so you have to adjust your game plan for not having a player like 12 on the field. Because 12 is a playmaker on both sides of the ball. He makes things happen. He can do things other players can't. And so not having that special weapon, at least not in full capacity, which you've had him the previous 2 games, that is an adjustment that you have to make, because he is a starting wide receiver. He is a starting corner. And as you saw, as soon as Travis went out, number 10, Breland came in and got beat for a touchdown. He did. He got beat right where Travis would have been. That's not to say, oh, Travis could have got beat too. Yeah, he could have, but he also could not have. He also could have made an interception. He hadn't got beat for too many touchdowns this year. You know what I'm saying? So that is something that Coach Prime, that staff is going to have to adjust to, not having Travis around. That is an adjustment, because we're talking about a dude that makes a ton of plays on both sides of the ball. Interceptions, catches, plays all over the field, big plays. And it's going to be an adjustment not having him, but you also have to be concerned about whether you'll have him in the capacity that you had him in the first 2 games, if you'll have him like that the rest of the season, because I wouldn't. I don't think I could. You can't chance it for a guy who's already shown that he can get hurt, whether it's to his fault or his own fault or not. I don't think you can use him in that capacity, because whether to say that playing all those snaps over the course of the first 2.5 games contributed to the injury, I don't know. I don't know that, but I do know it didn't help. It didn't help keep him from getting hurt, playing all those snaps, getting hit on offense and hitting people on defense. I know it didn't help that. And that's why you don't see what he was doing very often, because it is tough. It is tough to play. It's tough to play 60% of the snaps on offense if you're the starting corner, or 60% of the snaps on defense if you're the starting go-to wide receiver, let alone play 100% of both. And so seeing him in a limited capacity, potentially, now I'm not the coaching staff, so I don't know, but potentially it's that doesn't help the team. It limits the team just that much more. But you got to figure out that offensive line. You have to figure out that offensive line, and you've got to figure out the secondary. Something about, because the reason why you have to, and we'll do a preview about Colorado, about Oregon later this week, but you have to, because these offenses you're about to see in this Pac-12, they're better than TCU. They're better than Nebraska, and they're damn sure better than Colorado State. These Pac-12 offenses, if they don't do nothing else, they score a bunch of points. Washington State, they hung 50 on this same Colorado State team. Now you can say, oh, this is a rivalry game, blah, blah, blah. I get that. But Washington State can score a bunch of points. Oregon State with DJU, they can score points. UCLA is coached by Chip Kelly. They can score points. We know what Caleb is, USC, Lincoln Riley. And Oregon, I think, scored 40 points in every game. No, I take that back. They didn't score 40 in the Texas Tech game. They scored 55 this last game. They had a game this year, they scored 70. So they can score points. So you have to tighten up on that side of the ball. You got to figure out that offensive line. But this win was a big win. This win, I think Shedeur was more impressive in this win than he was in the first two games. The first game he had 500 yards. The second game he almost had 400 yards. But this one right here, being down 11 points, down on the 2-yard line to go tie the game, you got to score a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. And all number 2 did was ... touchdown. Shout out to Jimmy Horn because he dropped one earlier. He had an offsides. He had a false start penalty. He wasn't having his best game. He catches that ball, shakes off one guy, juked the hell out of number 11, and got in that freaking end zone and helped this team win this game. I knew as soon as I saw 2 get that ball with that time left, with a couple of timeouts left, I said, yeah, he's gonna go tie this game. He's going to go tie. They left him too much time. And Colorado State, to me, played scary. Colorado State had the ball. It was 4th and 2. 4th and 2, roughly at about the midfield. You got to go for it there. Coach Norvell, you got to go for it there. It was 2 moments that I thought Coach Norvell dropped the ball. One, that 4th and 2 at the midfield in the fourth quarter, right before they punted it and gave it back to Shedeur at the 2-yard line. He goes 98 yards to score. I think, 1, he should have went for it there. And 2, when Colorado gets the ball first, scores, and kicks the extra point in overtime, if you're Colorado State and you score a touchdown, you got to go for 2. You got to go for 2. Like, you cannot play conservative in this game. Think about it. Colorado had big noon kickoff, ESPN game, College Game Day, The Rock, Pat McAfee, Lil Wayne, Offset, Kyle Lowry, Kawhi freaking Leonard. Kawhi Leonard doesn't even show up to Clippers games. Kawhi Leonard pulled up to this freaking game. Cameron, Master P, all of these people in the building. You got to make a statement. You got to go for 2 there. You can't play scary. Can't play scary right there. You got to go for 2. And another thing, it's a good thing, Key Glock. It's a good thing Colorado won this game. Because you know what the narrative would have been if they would have lost this game and all of them people was hanging out in that locker room. If they would have lost this game, having Lil Wayne run them out the tunnel, do a freaking concert on campus before the game, and then run them out of the tunnel, y'all know what the narrative would have been if they would have lost this freaking game. It might still pop up on the hot take circuit come Monday. It might still pop up. I don't know. But y'all know what that narrative would have been. And I still might think it. You can't, some of that pageantry, you can't, Desi Banks, some of that you can't have in the locker room before the game. Like some of the stuff I was seeing pregame in the locker room. I mean, maybe you can against Colorado. Maybe you thought you could against Colorado State. Y'all better not do that against Oregon next week. Y'all damn sure better not do that when Mr. Williams and Lincoln Riley come to town in 2 weeks. I think this was a tighten up game. This was a tighten up game. Like, okay, all right, it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. But the problem is you can't sleepwalk against these 6 Pac-12 schools you're going to see this year that are ranked right now. Because if you sleepwalk in the first half against Oregon next week, it might be 35-10 at halftime. You sleepwalk against Caleb Williams in 2 weeks in the first half, it might be 42-20 at halftime. So this was a wake-up call, but there are still a ton of things to work on for Coach Prime and the Buffs. The Travis injury, though, that I feel so much for the kid, man, because he's such a good guy. He's such a talented player. But I strongly think with these injuries piling up over the years and his usage, I don't know if that is, I don't know if that's sustainable moving forward. I don't think it'll be sustainable at all. If I'm just being honest, moving forward, the hit was dirty as hell. Let's not take away the fact that 11 hit. I would show you, but I don't want to get a copyright strike. The hit was super dirty, but coming off an injury, him playing 125 snaps a game, I just don't think that's sustainable. I don't think that is smart. And with all the dirtiness that Colorado State, they didn't deserve to win that game. They were the better team for a large majority of the game, but they were just so freaking flagrant with their dirtiness and the dirty plays. They didn't deserve to win. But what I will say, though, heavy is the head that wears the crown. When you come out and you're very flamboyant and you're very braggadocious and you're very sticky to other teams, that is the mindset. They'll take cheap shots on you. When you come in and come to their face and tell them how broke they are and they ain't got no money and you flashing watches and all that stuff, like kids remember that stuff. Like kids don't like when they see you, they'll take a dirty shot on you. And that's the thing, that's the dangerous and the beauty behind football. Is that you actually get to go out there and try to impose your will on someone. You get to hit other guys. You guys can be mad as hell at each other. And guess what? At the end of the day, I get a chance to hit you. Whether I want it to be clean or not is on me. But I get that opportunity. And that is the scariness and the danger that Colorado could be facing, especially with a team that has nothing to lose. You got to think about Colorado State in this game. They had nothing to lose. The entire world was picking the Buffs. They had nothing to lose. All they had to do was stand on business behind their coach. And for the most part, they did. Went into double overtime. They did what they're supposed to do. They did a lot of dirty stuff, and I think that's what came back to bite them. But they stood 10 toes behind their coach. This Pac-12 schedule, you're going to play teams that are way more talented than the first 3 teams that you played. You're going to have to stand on business behind all of that with all of the flashiness and the cameras and the celebrities and everybody in the world picking you over them. And so sometimes the recoil from that is some dirtiness, some sloppiness. You got to be prepared for that. But shoot, as long as you got number 2, you're in good hands. You got to keep him protected, though. You can't just let folks come in there and smack him around. You got to protect number 2. As long as you protect Shedeur, you're going to have a chance in all these games. But got to figure out those under routes, those crossing routes. And you got to game plan and adjust to not having Travis in the building for the next couple of weeks against some really, really talented teams in Oregon and USC. But nonetheless, Colorado State, you got the dub. 60 minutes, big noon kickoff, Lil Wayne, all of them, ESPN College Game Day, The Rock, you came away with a win. And at the end of the day, no matter how it looks, 3-0 is 3-0. You've already tripled your win total from 2022, and there's a lot of meat still left on the bone for you to go out and make things happen. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Colorado comes away with a 43-35 win over Colorado State. My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victor Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsYJr. YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. That is on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you next time. Peace.